Someone even got their question in 3.5 hours early. I was very impressed by this person. So we'll start with their question. But before we do that, Ryan, give the people. I'm sure they know by now, but
I would hope so.
In case they don't know, tell the people where they can find you and your work.
In case they don't know, the people can find me at my Twitter handle down here. Every time with the camera at RyanPros_FF. I write for the Dynasty Vipers, and I do the Sunday morning shows with Spence and Matt for Start Sits, and we're looking at a weekly schedule. We're still ironing it out. Still, we're gonna get there.
One day I'll have to come on that show. Mm-hmm. One day, but
for sure.
I've been very busy. I got offered. I feel so bad all the time. I got offered another guest spot today. They were like, "Can you come on?" And I was just like, "I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I just don't have time for that." I don't know if I'm ever really going to go back to having time for guest spots, to be honest. It's been, I've been busy. I have this channel. I don't know what I'm going to do with it during the off season. I've had recaps and start sits, but that's all going to go away during the off season or a non-point scoring season, as Dynasty Outhouse would say. So I don't really know what I'm going to do on this channel. I may or may not be looking for a co-host for a Dynasty podcast. If you think you'd be good and you want to record with me, get your resumes in. Ryan, why don't you tell the people what you think good qualities are to be my co-host?
Well, I mean, you got to be able to listen, of course, but that's any co-host.
Oh my God.
Of course. And,
I'm bad at that one. I'm bad at listening.
I remember you put in the group chat, the number one quality was to make you laugh.
That's true. Yeah, that does help. Making me laugh does help.
I guess those are the top two.
This is a grind. So if you can make me laugh, that will definitely get your resume to the top of the list. 100%. I'm always looking because it's funny actually. I'm a pretty lighthearted and fun person in life, but it does not tend to come across. Not on Twitter and not on my articles. On my shows a little bit, but I'm more savage than funny, I would say. But speaking of savage, 3.5 hours in advance.
He needed this answered. I respect it.
He needed it answered. And unfortunately, it doesn't come with much context. Alex Collins or Robert Tonyan. What is the deal with today? I've heard everyone calling him Bob. Is that what he wants to be called? I heard this on multiple podcasts calling him Bob. Pretty sure he likes being called Robert.
I don't know. I guess I just ran with it.
Anyway, what would you do here? Assuming this is just PPR, regular PPR.
I mean, last week wasn't a good confidence builder for Alex Collins. A lot of time out with Rashad Penny, a little bit with Travis Homer, but that happened
This week is Jacksonville.
I know it's a juicy matchup, and Robert Tonyan's coming off a good game, of course, and there's no one to catch the ball tonight.
But don't forget that the Arizona defense is a good defense.
It's very good. I have Tonyan at tight end 15. I just couldn't put him any higher.
Yeah, I have him at not much higher. I have him tight end 13.
And then I think Collins. I have Alex. I have Collins as the back end RB2. I'm at 24 exactly.
I have him at 24 exactly.
I think you got to go Collins.
Well. 24 exactly. So we're there tends to be a lot of agreement on this show. If anyone is new,
it's weird. It's weird because we don't talk about these rankings beforehand either.
No, not at all. We never talk about them beforehand.
It just happens.
I'm finishing them up before we go live, so we couldn't have talked about them beforehand. I don't know when you do yours, but I don't finalize them until
I finalize them right before.
But yeah, so it's Alex Collins pretty easily. So from Brian, let's see, a lot of names. So okay, let's start with David Johnson because I think we're going to get maybe not as much on this show because it is it's a Thursday show. So we're going to get a lot of questions about tonight. I know the players we're going to get questions about. It's going to be a lot of Tonyan, a lot of Randall Cobb, a lot of AJ Green, those Kirk, those players. Well, let's just start with David Johnson as kind of a separate issue. So as you know, Mark Ingram was traded to the Saints. So that's actually kind of turned a 3-way committee now into a 2-way committee. Does that help at all?
I mean,
or not really?
It has to help a little bit. I remember early in the season, which feels like years ago, Mark Ingram was getting 25 to like 18 touches a game. Like, it's ridiculous. So I don't have David Johnson that high in my rankings. He has a brutal matchup this week against the Rams. Mm-hmm. I'm at 32.
Let's see where I have him. I think it's pretty close to that.
They're going to throw the ball a lot.
34. So close.
Definitely higher than he would have been if Mark Ingram, or he's higher than he. I'm trying to word this right. He's higher right now because of Mark Ingram being traded.
Yeah, the issue is this matchup is so bad. And they're going to get Phillip Lindsay involved. I think I'm not really sure. Essentially, to me, Phillip Lindsay was getting no work. So I think Johnson is going to get a little bit of extra work, but Lindsay is going to get most of what Ingram had. So now I think it's going to be a dead even 50-50. Whereas before it was like 35, 45, 20 with Ingram being the 45. Mm-hmm. Johnson 35 and Lindsay 20.
The wide receivers in this question are interesting, though.
Yeah, no, David Johnson I'm not actually considering as an answer to this question. Well, for me, I mean, Metcalf, probably still going to play Metcalf.
You got to play Metcalf.
I'm still going to play Metcalf. I have Metcalf at wide receiver 13.
I'm at 15.
Yeah, you're closer to the consensus than me. Consensus is lower than both of us.
Yeah, I don't.
Somewhere around 18.
You got to start DK Metcalf.
Yeah, I'm still going to start DK Metcalf. But the other is interesting. I mean, I guess some of it depends on the format, right? I mean,
yeah.
I'm not considering any of the, between the receivers at least, I would order those guys Metcalf, Amari, Thielen, Sutton, and Shepard last. Unless we know way in advance that it's going to be Shepard and only Shepard healthy, but we might not know. So that's going to be a little bit tricky. I would just play it safe here and go with Metcalf and Amari, but Mitchell could be interesting. If it's, if it's a standard league, I would go with Metcalf and Mitchell. If it's half PPR, it would be close between Amari and Mitchell, but I'd probably still go Amari.
See, I have them all. I have DK at 15, and then I have the other guys. Well, the 3 other guys. I have Sutton, Cooper, and then Thielen in the 18 to 22 range. So I have them all.
Yeah, where do you have Cooper?
I have Cooper at 20.
Okay, I have Cooper at 18, so very close.
Do you have Sutton at 20? I'm just intrigued.
Yeah, I have Sutton at 23. A little bit lower.
Well, I have Sutton at 18, so I guess I'm going Sutton here, but
I'm in the belief that we're not. I'm still ranked Sutton ahead of Judy this week, but I expect that to change. I have Sutton. I don't even have Sutton and Judy that far apart. I guess I have them decently far apart. I mean, I have Sutton at 23 and Judy at 33. So, to me, Judy coming in is a big deal. So I was ranking Sutton around 18 before, not anymore, even in the positive matchup against Washington. I think 23, honestly, is generous. Because it's not like Tim Patrick is going away and Noah Fant are going away. They're still going to be there, and now you're just adding Jerry Jeudy. Courtland Sutton has been good. Actually, he leads the league in air yards.
Yep.
He leads the league in air yards. Courtland Sutton has not been bad. So that's, if you want to take who I'm really worried about, it's Noah Fant. Because unlike Courtland Sutton, Noah Fant has not lived up to what we wanted. And I think he's going to be, and he's the one who competes a little bit more in that area of the field with Jerry Jeudy. Whereas I think Courtland Sutton actually has been better than I thought he would be coming off the injury. He's been better. So
does he lead in unrealized air yards as well? I'm pretty sure he does.
I feel like he must. Right? I mean, I feel like he must. Because if he leads in air yards and his production is what it is, it's not that good. He has to lead in unrealized air yards. He has the most air yards. He's number 1, which is crazy to me, honestly. But no, he's been good. He's been good.
Definitely has been good.
But with Jeudy coming back in, I do think that I just think that this year it's going to be tough with Judy, Sutton, and Fant all healthy. Even in the best case scenario, it's going to be tough to get any of them, either Judy or Sutton, in the top 20, any week. But
especially
you could have
little bit.
Yeah, you could have them both as low end twos sometimes, but we'll see. I would just prefer not to go to Sutton unless I had to, and in this case, I certainly don't have to. I'd much rather go to Amari, although I have some concerns about Amari too. Dak is still kind of a iffy, but I expect Dak to play. Gallup is going to play, so. And Amari is not 100% healthy, but coming off the bye week, I think now maybe he is actually 100% healthy. He wasn't before. It's close. I mean, they're all good options. Thielen is a good option too against Dallas. Coming from behind.
Yeah, quality bench.
Yeah, these are good options. And Shepard against Kansas City, if he's alone, would be in the same tier as everyone else.
Yep.
Okay. From Jesse. So he knows this is sit start. But on Thursday, I like to take other questions more so than on Sunday when we have less time. So what do you think of Henderson for Gibson and Terry moving forward? So he's concerned about Gibson. I would be very concerned.
Yes.
But it feels like I should take it. So which side would you prefer in redraft?
This is tough. I think I'd have to go with Henderson's locked in as an RB1 for the rest of the season, but I feel like taking the chance on Gibson is worth it with McLaurin. I feel like I go with the 2 for 1.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really prefer – I'd probably slightly prefer Henderson over McLaurin rest of season, but it's just a slight preference. I'm not a Henderson person. I never have been. I think Henderson is a jag or close to it, and I think almost any running back, given his volume, would staying healthy would succeed in that scheme. Anyone. I think almost anyone. I don't think he really adds much. So, I mean, I suppose he's been a little bit better than I thought, but I'm not really a Henderson person. So, yeah, I think him and McLaurin are not that different. And then with Gibson on that side, I'll take that side, even though I don't believe in Gibson at all. So it's a good question.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Nicole Collins. Who's Nicole Collins? I love this. We're starting Judy this week over David Johnson, Raymond, or Nico Collins. Yes, you're starting Judy over these 200%. Options. Yeah, easily. It's not even that.
Spell check got him.
I know. But you're definitely starting Judy. So this week, I think the theme of tonight is Randall Cobb. I got a lot of questions about Randall Cobb.
I'm not shocked.
Yeah, I hate to spoil the people about the show. I don't think I answered in favor of Cobb once. So you're probably going to hear me say a lot of bad things about Randall Cobb.
I probably have him higher than you. We'll see, though.
Yeah. Well, let's see. How about this one from Kenneth? Would you start Cobb over Woods, Keenan Allen, or Terry McLaurin? So this is where we are. These are the kind of questions that people are asking. This was asked to me on Twitter. All of these questions asked to me on Twitter today. So someone actually wants to do this. What do you think about that? Do you think this is a good idea?
No, I have Woods the lowest at 21 out of the 3 that he mentioned. Then I have Keenan Allen at 19. I have him a little lower than consensus, probably.
19. So I have Allen at 16.
And then I have McLaurin at 12. And Randall Cobb is at 29 for me. So no.
29, yeah. No, I have Randall Cobb at, let's see. Let's keep scrolling. Yeah, I have him at 44. I have him at 44. I'm just
maybe we'll hear a couple more yeses from me on the show.
Yeah, you're not going to get any yeses from me. I have Cobb at 44. I just don't. This doesn't work.
Start a guy because he's going to get volume?
Yeah, no, that never works. Everyone is out. Just play random guy. That never works.
What was it 2 weeks ago? Who was it 2 weeks ago? Nick Westbrook-Akina?
That was one. And honestly,
I'm
I'm not sure who has more left in the tank at this point in their careers, Randall Cobb or Nick Westbrook-Akina. And this matchup sucks. This is not a good matchup. The only thing good about it is that they're probably going to have to come from behind the Packers against the Cardinals. But you cannot rely on Randall Cobb. It's funny because I don't know. Rogers has to get there based on my ranking of him. I still have him at quarterback 12, which is not that high. But he's going to get there, but it could literally be anyone. It could be Equinemius St. Brown. It could be Malik Taylor. I think you're just better off Mercedes Lewis. You hope it's Cobb or Tunyon. Those are the two names. I also think it's going to be a big Aaron Jones day. I think it literally has to be. Honestly, and I would expect him to get more involved in the receiving game than normal.
Oh yeah, his over/under for receptions is at 5.5 already. So
yeah, I honestly would consider the over, but I just with Randall Cobb, you just can't trust him. You can't trust him. So we'll see. Okay. So redraft trade. Okay, this came up from, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. Dealt Mixon and Gasicki for Barkley. What do you think?
This would depend solely on situation for me, but I can't do it.
What situation could you possibly want to do this in?
I'm like 6-2 or.
I don't. So you're going to be 6-2, and you're going to get rid of mid tight end 1 and a running back 1 for someone who might play. Maybe, who's looked healthy in how many games this year? How many games has Saquon Barkley looked healthy? How many?
2.
No, he hasn't actually looked healthy in 2 games. He didn't look healthy in those games. He has not looked like the same Saquon Barkley at all. At all. Maybe we were a couple games away from that before the last injury. He still didn't look 100%. He looks slow. He looks slow, unimpressive. It's not the Saquon. I mean, am I holding him to a high standard? As in, am I saying he doesn't look like Saquon Barkley? Don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying he looks bad. But is Saquon Barkley, which offense is better? The Bengals or the Giants?
Bengals by $1 million.
Bengals is better. Then is 70% of Saquon Barkley better than 100% of Joe Mixon? No. So why on earth would you do this trade? I'd rather have Mixon rest of season without Gasicki. Personally. I'll believe Barkley's going to be 100% when I see it. But he's out of strikes for me. Too many injuries. I'm tired of it. I mean, eventually you have so many injuries that you just never are back to the player that you were. And now we had a high ankle sprain in 2019, a devastating high ankle sprain. It took 8 weeks, really, to recover from that. Then there was an ACL tear. Now another ankle sprain. The ACL tear, it took a lot of time. It should have been about 4 months faster, but it took way longer than it should have. So that's not a good sign. And now another injury. So it's just too many injuries. He doesn't look good. And honestly, even in 2020 and 2019 when he did play, he wasn't the same Saquon Barkley that he was in 2018 for fantasy because Eli Manning dump-off machine wasn't there and he wasn't getting the same PPR upside. So you're not missing out on the same player anyway. So you're not missing out on the difference-making RB1 overall that he was, and who knows if he's ever going to be that. Give me Mixon straight up. Sorry. Just done with Saquon Barkley. Completely. In Dynasty, maybe, but in redraft now. Oh, Trogdor, okay. So good question, actually. Good question. People will be considering Rondale Moore tonight, actually. I think a good question. So he's asking between Rondale Moore and Marquez Callaway. I feel like people will ask about Marquez Callaway this week. What do you think about these two?
I have them 5 spots apart. I'd go Marquez Callaway, but like barely. I have 40 and 45.
I have them 1 spot apart.
It's a good question. Like,
you said 40 and 45?
Yeah.
I have them both lower than you. I have Rondale at 49 and Callaway at 50. Yeah, Rondale Moore, I have concerns. In redraft, I have to have concerns at this point. With Zach Ertz coming into the lineup, Ertz is in. I mean, Nuke is going to play. I don't want to hear about these. I knew I would get these questions. I knew I would. I posted earlier today being like, please start DeAndre. Start DeAndre Hopkins if he's active. Don't worry about it. And then I posted my start sit thread. 3 questions. Should I start DeAndre Hopkins tonight? I'm like, and people told me I'm wasting my time posting, don't worry about DeAndre Hopkins. Clearly, I'm not wasting my time because I got 3 questions about that. And you never know what people are. You have to remember that not everyone's me. So, maybe someone was wondering, maybe it helped them. But anyway, it was since Nuke is going to play, AJ Green has honestly looked pretty good.
Yeah.
But whispers, AJ Green has looked better than Julio Jones this year. Sorry.
Didn't see that one coming, did we?
I know, but he has. Seriously, yes.
Oh, yes.
I mean, there's no getting around that at this point. And Christian Kirk is in, so yeah, I actually do have Rondell one spot higher, but that seems to make these are both guys I'm avoiding. I don't want to play Callaway at all. I don't care that he's playing against Tampa Bay. I just don't care. Oh, one other thing. I am concerned. Last week's usage of Alvin Kamara, there was a lot of usage in the receiving game. And that was on top of the fact that they had no one else to take carries. Mark Ingram will play this week after the trade. So if they're going to be able to absorb 10 carries to Mark Ingram and take those away from Alvin Kamara, I think that Alvin Kamara is now going to see that 10 reception usage on a weekly basis. And that's going to hurt all Saints options. Not that they were helping you anyway. So that's part of why actually the Ingram trade makes me less interested in Marquez Callaway this week. Something to consider.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. I mean,
Callaway sucks. I mean, he's a jag. Callaway, you have these guys in every team. Callaway, Zach Pascal, Tim Patrick. They can play if necessary. But that's it. That's all they are. You don't want to start Marquez Callaway. Yeah, I would say Rondo more, but honestly, like, check your team. There might be other options I would prefer. I don't want to start either of these two. Okay, from Top Shelf Highlights, Jared Cook a worthy pickup or Hunter Henry need to fill a spot for Waller? Well, Waller's on bye. So what do you think about Jared Cook, and what do you think about Hunter Henry?
I mean, they both look pretty decent to start off the year. Like, not mid-tight end ones, but they're like low end. I have Hunter Henry at 10 this week. 10? It has nothing to do with the revenge game.
Oh, good point. I didn't even think about that revenge game.
just second option in the
forgot
offense.
About that. Yeah, actually, I forgot.
I just like Hunter Henry's opportunity to get more targets. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, no, I like him more than you. I have Hunter Henry at 8.
Nice.
So, and Cook?
I have him at 18.
I have him at 15. But again, the spread is similar between the two for both of us. So sounds like we would both easily prefer Henry. From Andrea, ooh, okay.
Let's go on.
Yeah, but I think it's pretty easy. Henderson or Sutton, PPR?
Oh, I didn't know how high Henderson ranked. Henderson easy. I forgot his matchup was.
Yeah.
His matchup. I actually
don't have Henderson as high as some people. I only have Henderson at 13. I have some concerns. After last week was
I just like the matchup a lot.
Matchup was good last week and he didn't deliver.
I think he's bouncing back this week. Stafford missed him on the wheel route. His game would look a lot better.
This week is interesting to me. This week there are 13 running backs that I really would like to play, with Henderson being the last. That I'm going to play almost overall, but the absolute stud wide receivers. Those 13 are Henry, Cook, Eckler, Taylor, Zeke, Aaron Jones, Kamara, Swift, James Robinson, Mixon, Chubb, Harris, Najee Harris, that is, and Henderson. Those are the 13 where I'm completely confident with no doubt. There are actually a lot of really good running backs this week. At the top of the rankings, I'm really debating. I mean, Henry is the locked-in 1.
Oh, yeah.
I think Cook is the locked-in 2. But after that, I mean, I have Eckler at 3, but I could easily have Aaron Jones at 3, Taylor at 3, Zeke at 3, or Kamara at 3. I mean, with what I said about the usage on Kamara or how much they're going to need to use Jones. I mean, Zeke has been great in Minnesota and not such a good defense. I would, I'm kind of Jonathan Taylor against the Titans, although the Titans shut down Kansas City last week, so who knows. And Eckler is getting a crazy amount of usage. So honestly, I really think you can't go wrong this week.
Running back, no. They all have good matchups, good usage. Then you get in that next tier with like Damian Harris, Leonard Fournette.
I mean, if you even keep scrolling, DeAndre Swift plays the Eagles, James Robinson the Seahawks, Mixon the Jets, and then Chubb and Najee have bad matchups against each other. But yeah,
it is what it is. But
there are some
have good matchups.
But it's weird this week because the top guys, a lot of the top guys have really good matchups, which means the middling guys don't. There are a few that do, but there are a lot of bad ones, like Leonard Fournette against the Saints. I don't love Kalil Herbert against the 49ers. There are a couple of, Gibson and McKissick against Denver. I'm not loving that one, but there are some bad ones. But this one is Henderson. Oh, this is a good question from Oscar. So I assume he means what goes into setting up your rankings. I assume he's talking about start sit, because if you're talking about Dynasty, that's more complicated.
Yeah.
Those are an evolving process over time. I don't go and sit down and do them. Whereas start sit, you reset them every week. So what goes into setting them up? That's hard to explain, right? I mean, I just kind of go through every player and rank them in the order I would want to start them, based on, I feel like the question is pretty basic in a way. It's you're evaluating the quality of the player, the quality of the offense, the alternative options on that offense, the matchup, and then, a couple, did I miss anything? Or is that it?
I don't think you did. I mean, there comes a point, at least when I'm doing the rankings, where I rank like the set starters, like, the Zekes, the James Robinsons, the Alvin Kamaras of the world. And then you get to like, the mid 20s, early 30s with the running back. And then you just start swinging for upside. Like at that point, like I get to a point where I just like, this guy could, have a better he's a better ceiling than the next guy.
Not all about ceiling though. I mean, because it's hard to predict going into a matchup what you need out of any individual player. That's one piece of advice that I think is terrible that people give. It's like, I need a lot of upside. Yeah, if you're talking about Monday night and there's one player left, then you know what you need. But going into a week, you have no idea what you need out of a lineup spot. I've seen this all the time. A team is projected for 220, best team in the league, and that team puts up 110. They score half of their projection. So you have no idea what you need. So I always want to just start the players who I think are going to score the most. I want the most points, and then I'll just play it from there.
Well, I do that, but then you get to like Michael Carter and like Mike Davis and like.
Yeah, but I want the player who I think has the range of outcomes, has the overall highest, projected total based on the range. I mean, I don't necessarily always go to the one who has the most upside. Like,
I guess I use that a lot more than.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't. I'm looking for the highest point total. Because you don't know if you're going to need upside or a floor going into a week. You can't know. Your opponent could put up the best week ever or completely shit the bed. You just have no idea what's going to happen. You don't know what you need. So I always just want to try to score the most points and just let it go from there. Flex 3. Oh, this is in reference to his question. Not a lot of options. Good job again, glorious head O'Hare. Oh, thank you. My hair's in a man bun, and it's also kind of a mess today, but I appreciate that. Pick 2 for PPR. Scott, Gibson, McKissick, Booker. I apologize for the weekly redundancy. Well, I mean, it changes every week, so there's no redundancy. All right, so, okay, talk about these players. We haven't really talked about any of them. So what do you think about all of them? I mean, what do you think here? Go for it.
I mean, Boston Scott's in 50-50. I don't even know if it's a 50-50 split with Gainwell. I have to go back and look at the numbers. I've Scott probably lower. Gibson is at 21 for me because, the injury, everything. Doesn't have a good matchup either. McKissick's at 31, same thing.
So yeah, I have Gibson at 23 and McKissick at 32. So we're very close.
Very close. And then Booker, where did I put Booker? I have Booker at 26 just because of the volume.
Booker at 25. Where did you say you have Scott?
I had Scott really low. I might have to move him up. I had him at 37 when I
have him even lower than you. I have him at 40. So
I don't know.
I'm not in. I'm just not. I don't want Scott. So
I guess the answer for both of us is Gibson and then Booker.
Gibson and Booker. Yeah, Gibson and Booker. All right, from Luke. Christian Kirk or Corey Davis, half people also have A.J. Dillon. So I think we can rule out A.J. Dillon, who did a big fat nothing last week in what was supposed to be a good game script. This is a bad game script. So I don't want to go anywhere near A.J. Dillon. So we can forget about him. I have A.J. Dillon at running back 42. So forget him. Now, between Kirk and Davis, what do you think about those two?
I think I'm rolling with Christian Kirk. And it's not because I like starting players on Thursday night. I just like his role better. And it's Mike White starting. It's not Zach Wilson. If Zach Wilson was starting, I feel like we'd have a discussion here. But
I agree. I think if Zach Wilson were starting, I would prefer Corey Davis.
Yeah.
But he's not. Even if Joe Flacco were starting, it would be close. But with Mike White, I just can't. Where do you have Corey Davis?
Where do I have him? This is the list of names. I think I have him around 45. Yeah.
42. Kirk?
I have him at 35.
36. So there you go.
For not talking about our rankings before the show, we have a lot of
I know this is like the most alignment we've like ever had.
Yeah, it's wild.
We pretty much seem to have the exact same thoughts on this one. We'll go with Kirk. Okay, from Oscar. Think the Browns O-line is still solid against Pittsburgh? I mean, yes. If you're asking, should you still start Chubb? Yes. Don't start anyone else. Anyone else on the Browns. Don't start Baker or Keenum, no matter who plays. I think it'll be Baker. No tight ends. Don't start any receivers. If you had to start one, it would be Landry, and I wouldn't want to start him.
I agree.
Always wondered, Black Swans? Breakout anomaly? No, I don't have any separate lists for that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm actually not sure what that means. Is David Johnson worth stashing? Well, I said so on Twitter yesterday that my answer to that was yes. Running backs are hard to find.
He comes in, gets 16 carries this week, you're happy.
I don't think that's going to happen, but it's the kind of thing where now if Lindsey gets injured and Johnson is kind of alone, then maybe you're closer to actually having fantasy relevance with David Johnson than you were before. So I think he's worth stashing now, at least. Philip Lindsay, probably not. Not in most formats. If you're desperate, sure. How are we feeling about Mo Alley Cox? Moving up the ranks? No. No, he's not.
I'm at 20, if that counts for anything.
I have him at 19. So,
I mean,
wow.
Yeah, bank on a touchdown
once again, but no.
Bank on that touchdown.
Yeah, but I'm not going to do that.
Okay. His touchdown rate's like 13%, like his catches or something like that.
Yeah, but this is going to be a Jonathan Taylor game, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, came on late if this is discussed. You know how you feel. Are we all systems go for Judy this week? I said where I had Judy ranked. Where do you have Judy?
31.
So you actually have him higher than I do.
That's a first.
Yeah, so yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much. More or less. I miss it. I don't know what that means. All right, so let's keep rolling with some of these. So, all right, we kind of, I don't know how we felt about this. So Booker, Gainwell, or David Johnson, half PPR?
Give me half PPR.
Half PPR makes it closer between Booker and Gainwell.
Yeah, I think I might take Booker in that one. It's really close.
I'll still take Gainwell, but it's closer in half PPR. Here we are. This is where we are. Tyler Lockett or AJ Green?
Tyler Lockett by 5 spots.
Man, Tyler Lockett is killing me.
Where do you have Lockett? Because I'm at 37.
31. Jackson, it's killing me. Tyler Lockett is killing me. He's the one that's just like I can't stand.
It's not Allen Robinson?
Allen Robinson? Allen Robinson I have at 45.
I was talking about the one you can't stand.
Well, I can't stand Allen Robinson, but I've already given up on Allen Robinson.
Fair enough.
I have AJ Green at 38. So I guess I would go Tyler Lockett. But not pretty.
42. Lockett barely.
Yeah. Kalil Herbert or Javonte Williams?
This is a really good question. I have Javonte ranked higher by 1.
I definitely have Kalil Herbert higher. Yeah. I have Kalil Herbert at 21.
I'm 28 and 29. I guess when I was doing it, I didn't like the matchup a lot. I just didn't get a full workload. I think I ranked Damian Williams not pretty high, but I ranked him.
I have Damian Williams at 46.
I'm at 41, so.
Yeah. I have Javonte Williams in a similar spot to you. I have Javonte Williams at 27. But I have Kalil Herbert at 21. So I would go with Kalil Herbert, personally.
Impressed.
Yeah, I was very impressed. I'm not going to lie. Non-PPR, AJ Green or Brandon Cooks? Brandon Cooks was not happy that they traded. He He let his feelings be known.
Oh,
Do you think the squeaky wheel gets the grease?
I think you got to start Brandon Cooks. I think he's going to get traded, though. I hope he gets traded.
Yeah, I do think this is potentially Brandon Cooks' last game in the Texans. Oh, that's great. Great news. You can tell by my sarcasm that it's not great news.
Did he just get traded?
No. Austin Eckler was added to the injury report today with a hip issue.
Oh.
Not so good. No. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that throughout the week then. But anyway, back to this one. I'll take Cooks.
Yeah, I'll take Cooks.
All right, so I got a lot of questions about Rodgers. Should I stream Cousins, Jones, or Wentz over Rodgers this week? So let's just talk about all of these players. How do you feel about them?
So I think I have Jones further down the list at 17, but then I have the three others in a grouping at 10, 11, 12. Goes Cousins, Wentz, Rodgers for me.
It's funny you mentioned that because I have three of them at 10, 11, 12, but it's not Wentz. It's Cousins, Jones, and Rodgers at 10, 11, 12. I have Wentz at 16.
I have Jones at 17.
Yeah, I have Jones at 10, actually. I have Jones the highest of all of these. I would go Jones.
I go with Cousins. I like the matchup a lot.
But I think neither of us want to go with Rodgers.
No.
You have Rodgers at what?
12.
Yeah, so do I. Both of us have Cousins over Rodgers. So if you take that for what it's worth. With Daniel Jones, I mean, I have him at 10 on the idea that there's a possibility that someone else might play. Seems most likely that it's Galladay to me at this point. Like Shepard's going to play. Slayton is healthy. Of the other three and this is going to be a big problem going into Monday night because I really think they're all going to be listed questionable.
Yeah. Of
the three, I mean, Barkley seems like there's just no chance. Tony, it just seems to me like he's out. Galladay seems to actually be the one with the best chance to play. I also think they're more likely to force Galladay in there rather than forcing Tony or forcing Barkley.
You made a huge investment with Galladay.
Well, you would say that's a reason not to, but I think that he's the one with the injury that has the least risk of aggravation.
That too, but I'd value the investments of Saquon being a number 2 pick and Tony being your recent first round pick over the money.
Yeah, no, I get that. To me, it seems like Galladay is the one with the best chance to play. So if Galladay played, I would be really excited about Daniel Jones this week. But even if he doesn't, Kansas City can't stop anyone.
Unreal that they have a losing record right now.
That's crazy. Rodgers or Hurts?
Hurts.
QB1,
man. Every week.
Yeah. Every week.
I'm at 5 and it feels low.
I believe I also have him. Yeah, I also have him at 5. I thought I just got a report on my phone from Sleeper.
Oh gosh.
But I was wrong. It was not actually from Sleeper. I thought it was going to be Sean Watson traded to the Dolphins.
I feel like it's happening.
I do too.
Soon.
Well, it's going to happen eventually. But it's a question of when. It's when, not if, to me.
Yeah.
It's when, not if, because there's just no way. And this is why it's when, not if. There's just no. I think it's clear that who would you rather as your franchise quarterback, Tua or Deshaun Watson?
That's an easy on the field.
Right, but that's on the field. It's Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
And nothing Tua does is going to change anyone's mind about that question.
And he's been playing well recently too, so it stinks.
And far better.
Yeah.
So, I don't think Tua has the ceiling of a Burrow or a Herbert who are good enough to hold Watson off. He's just Tua. Could he be a successful NFL quarterback? Sure. Is he gonna be the guy who he himself leads you to a victory, no, he's not going to be that. So if you have an opportunity to get a quarterback, but I don't think I personally do not think the trade is going to be consummated in the next week. I just think that there's just no way you can trade for someone with issues like this outstanding. But I think that the trade will happen. Watson wants to be, and it's unfair to Tua in a way, if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Because he didn't have anything to do with this. Watson just happened to become available, and unless you're one of the best quarterbacks in the league, Watson is going to be better than you. So, put some pressure on him, but I just think that he's never been as good as he was pre-hip injury. And, I don't know if for Tua, it's probably better if the trade happens in the offseason, because then the odds that he can get a second chance immediately are better. If the trade happened now, I don't know where he would go.
Washington maybe?
Washington doesn't want him. Washington doesn't want him because they're not going to give up their first for him, and why they're in a losing season. In the offseason, you could have more people interested. People were bandying about the Steelers as a potential option for Tua, but that trade makes more sense in the offseason. A trade where Watson goes to the Dolphins and Tua goes to the Steelers and some other thing. That trade wouldn't work now, but that trade would make a lot more sense in the offseason. So I believe the trade happens in the offseason, personally, would be my guess. I do not think it happens in the next week.
I mean, it would be hard to make it happen in the next week. I know I saw reports that he could play right away, but I don't,
I believe those reports, but I don't think that that's the problem.
No,
I think that
it's everything else.
There's not enough. Yeah, I do think that this situation is going to be resolved in time for the 2022 NFL draft. So I think that before the draft, this situation is going to be resolved. So a team will be able to consummate a deal for Watson at that time, or decide that they're not interested based on potential consequences.
If you trade for Watson now, you have to hold Tua just in the off chance that.
Yeah, it's too risky. Yeah, it's too risky.
Their pick's already at number 2 projected. So
no, and see, that's the thing. I think that they could trade for Watson now and just send Tua to the bench. I don't think they would deal Tua now. I think they would wait for another team to actually need him in the offseason. But, tough situation. So for this question, it's another DeAndre Hopkins question. DeAndre Hopkins or Damian Harris? We're going to play DeAndre Hopkins.
DeAndre Hopkins, but can I say both?
I would like to. I'm not that excited by Damian Harris this week, honestly. The Chargers, they're going to be playing from behind. When playing from behind, Damian Harris playing from behind, we don't want that. That's not so good. So I have Damian Harris I have him at running back 19. It's not like I don't want to play him, but I'm not excited to put Damian Harris in my lineup. I'm certainly putting in DeAndre Hopkins. They're playing Green Bay. Green Bay, I don't care that they don't have their weapons. They're still going to put up some points. DeAndre Hopkins could give you 30 tonight.
Oh, yeah,
you cannot play Damian Harris over him. Interesting. I hadn't thought about this.
This is a good question.
You got to choose between Cobb and Tonyan. Who'd you go with?
Well, based off the rankings, it'd probably be Randall Cobb for me.
Yeah,
but
it is for me.
It's tough. I feel like this is that night where people are like, "Oh yeah, Tonyan's not going to score or do anything," or
I usually never consider tight ends in the flex, but it's easier when they're in the same team, because then you just think about who do you think is going to produce more for that team in that game. It's easier to compare, and I think it's easily Cobb. I think Cobb is going to outproduce Tonyan unless Tonyan scores. And I don't know what the odds of that are, but I would bet against that. So the range of outcomes is in Cobb's favor. I'd expect Cobb to have more yards and more receptions than Tonyan. Tonyan has done nothing. Last week was the only week really recently he's done anything at all. He's had a rough season. Chase Edmonds or Devontae Booker?
Chase Edmonds.
Yeah, I have Chase Edmonds at 20 and Devontae Booker at 25. I'm not even sure that, this possible Saquon Barkley could play. I think even if this is a standard league, I'm probably still going to just throw Chase Edmonds in there tonight because I know I have him just in case. I don't really want to play Devontae Booker this week against Kansas City. They're going to be playing from behind. Not that interested. So I'm probably just play Chase Edmonds no matter what.
Yeah.
Zach Moss or Chase Edmonds?
I'd probably go Zach Moss. They got the matchup. It's there.
Do you think I have Zach Moss ranked?
I want to say 26.
28. I have Edmonds at 20. So
I'm at 22 and 25.
Yeah, I'm just not interested in Zach Moss. I don't know why people are interested in Zach Moss.
I mean, I just feel like he's going to get the bulk of the work. I mean, he's put away Devin Singletary.
The bulk of what work? And he didn't get the bulk of the work last time. He split carries last time.
It's because Devin Singletary came out hot against Tennessee.
And why can't that happen this time?
I mean, it certainly could.
The problem is that can happen anytime. I mean, Moss has had no more than 14 carries in any game. 14 carries is his high. He has 14 targets in 5 games, less than 3 targets a game. If he doesn't score, he's a total bust. I mean, he has 4 touchdowns on the year, and honestly, I think he's exceeding his touchdown expectation. I don't want to play Zach Moss. I don't. It's not like he's played well. I mean, 3.9 yards a carry this year is not great. 10.8 rushes per game. He had that one game against Kansas City where he dominated snaps, but in the other ones, he was a healthy scratch first week, and then he was ramping up in week 2. But the other ones, it's been 56, 56, 55%. So this is a committee. I don't let the one game against the Chiefs fool you.
I feel like the Arizona backfield one is too. Like James Conner's been out snapping him by a good bit.
Yeah. No, I not last week. Edmonds was in the 60s last week. But I still think that you would rather be with the Cardinals. Not that I don't like the Bills offense, but the Cardinals are more interested in the running game than the Bills.
That's fair.
The Bills are not. And Moss has been ineffective. It's not like he's been good. Edmonds has actually been pretty good. Flex choices: Cobb, Landry, Hilton, or Kirk. So Hilton, he might play, but he's not going to play for me. So he's a no. So between Cobb, Landry, and Kirk.
I mean, I have Cobb at 29, so I'm going to go Cobb over Kirk.
I'll go Kirk. I'll go with Kirk. Landry is not really in consideration. No. He's apparently going to play, and I'm a little bit less aggressive toward him than I am with Hilton. I'm fine technically playing Landry if I had to, whereas I won't play Hilton, period. But I don't. Landry would be my third choice of these. Mm-hmm. Is Ronald Moore a sneaky start tonight with Hopkins' injury issue? We both pretty much said no.
No.
Unfortunately, no. Zach Ertz has really put a damper on that. Is Malik Taylor from Fake Football, is Malik Taylor going to ball out tonight? I mentioned him earlier. Or who's the Packers wide receiver to play tonight, if desperate, and I am. So what do you think about Malik Taylor? Do you think he's going to ball out tonight?
I mean, maybe. Like, what more can you say than maybe? Like, we haven't seen him on the field. I mean,
what about Amari Rogers? Do you think Amari Rogers gets any play? We haven't mentioned his name.
I'm more excited for Amari Rogers, but that's just based off the recent draft capital.
I was hoping, yeah.
But, like, I think Equanimeous St. Brown's going to play in front of both of them.
Yeah, I think that the starters are going to be, just given who's played, I think that the starting 3 is going to be Cobb, Equanimeous St. Brown, and Amari Rogers. But, I expect Equanimeous St. Brown to be the top outside receiver. Malik Taylor, no. And you can't start Equanimeous St. Brown or Amari Rogers, because Amari Rogers, you have no idea what he's going to – really, you have no idea what either of those two are going to do. But no, you can't. You can't start Malik Taylor. AJ Green or James Conner tonight? Good question.
I go James Conner.
I mean, this one depends on the format for me. If it's full PPR, I'd probably go Green. Even if it's half, I like Green. I mean, Green has been actually pretty consistent. Pretty good. Conner, the game script could be with him, but there's no guarantee. Green Bay pass defense has been shredded, right? Not that the run defense was good either. I'm going to go with AJ Green. Connor, I feel like he can
You
score.
you do need the touchdown for Connor.
You need the touchdown, and it might not happen. So I pulled this question up because I thought this was not really a question. I thought this was more of a humble brag.
This does look like a humble brag. Wow.
He has to sit one of Jefferson, Diggs, Kupp, and Godwin. Yeah, he has to sit one of those options. Well, let's go up. We haven't even really talked about we haven't had many questions other than Hopkins about the top end of the receivers, because who asks questions about those? People know to start them. So Jefferson this week, where do you have Jefferson?
5.
I'm 4. Where do you have Diggs?
I have Diggs at 2.
All right, I have Diggs at 5. Kupp?
Number 1.
Number 1. We agree. And Godwin?
I have him at 14.
12. So we easily agree to sit Godwin, but the fact that you're sitting Godwin is crazy.
The fact that you're sitting a borderline wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 1 as you have him ranked.
Right.
Congratulations.
Yeah, this is insane. You may want to make a trade for some running back upgrades, because if you have this at wide receiver, running back maybe isn't so good. Okay, another Cobb question. Cobb, Julio, Galladay, or Shepard? Okay, we have to talk about all of these players.
Yeah.
Let's start with Galladay. You're not going to be able to start Galladay this week.
No, not at all.
You're not going to be able to start Galladay because he's going to be listed questionable. It's on the Saturday final report for a Monday night game. I would prefer Shepard over him anyway. So you're not going to start Galladay. The only way you could start Galladay, I could see the following situation. Let's say that you were desperate and you had Darius Slayton and Kenny Galladay on the same team, and you needed to start Slayton. You could reserve one spot for both of them. Go with Slayton if Galladay sits, and if Galladay's in, switch to Galladay. That's the only situation where you'll actually be able to play Galladay this week. So Galladay is out of this question. Now, the other ones, Julio, I don't know what to do with Julio. He's not healthy, and he's not effective. Where do you have Julio? We haven't talked about him at all this week.
I have him at 32.
I have him even lower than you. I have him at 37. I would rather Shepard, no matter who else plays, I would rather play Shepard than Julio. Even if everyone else plays, I'd still rather play Shepard.
Yep, I agree. I have him at 28. So
yeah, I have Shepard at 30 for now. But if I find out that it's going to be everybody else out, I'd probably have Shepard in the low, and Shepard is off the injury report entirely. I'd probably have Shepard in the low 20s, like 22 or 23.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would probably I'd rather have Shepard over Cobb no matter what. So it's going to be Shepard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
But I feel so. Julio has been such a disaster. Okay. PPR from Mr. Roll Tide. Edmonds, Gaskin, or Gainwell? These are two separate questions. So Edmonds, Gaskin, or Gainwell is the first. So what do we think of that one?
I have Gainwell.
I have Edmonds. I have Edmonds at 20 and Gainwell at 22. I have concerns. I have some concerns with Gainwell. I do. I have some concerns that they could just decide not to run the ball at all. That's happened. That's a legitimate concern, Mr. You're the Eagles fan over here. You know that's a very legitimate concern. That they could decide to just phase the running. I'm honestly not comfortable with with Gainwell at 22 even. That ranking worries me.
Yeah, it worries me too. Like Nick Sirianni's interview this week wasn't good comparing.
Nick Sirianni is a failure. I mean, he cannot be the coach of an NFL team. He's not ready to be a head coach. I'm sorry you're stuck with him.
At least his alpha game's good though.
Oh my, I can't with it. And Gaskin, we haven't talked about Gaskin at all this week. How do you feel about Gaskin with Malcolm Brown on the IR? Do you think can you trust him? Deandre Hopkins is active tonight, by the way, so play him.
Did Gaskin put up 0 points last week, or did he have one of those 26-point games?
No, he had a better game because Brown was out. But the matchup this week against Buffalo. Yeah,
I'd sit him. I have him at 30.
Have him at 31. So we're very much in lockstep on Gaskin.
It's also a down week. Remember, it's every other week with Gaskin.
Yeah, well,
that's just a joke.
That's not a real thing. But I do think that with Brown out, you could play Gaskin in a good matchup. This just isn't it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think there will be opportunities to play Gaskin. With Brown out, like you can trust him. That's always the thing. When you have 3 people in the backfield, it's hard to trust. But when you get it down to 2, it suddenly becomes a lot easier. And if they get Deshaun Watson, then I would be much more interested in Gaskin. But I don't think that's going to happen. But for this question, I'll go Edmonds. And then the Higgins or Claypool, what do we think about that? We haven't talked about them really. We haven't talked about the Bengals offense much at all, or the Steelers.
I mean, Higgins had 15 targets last week, which is crazy. He didn't do much, as we said in the recap.
He didn't do much with them, no.
But I have him at 25 and Claypool at 27, so.
It's interesting. I have Higgins at 22 and Claypool at 26. So I'll go with Higgins. Where do you have Jamar Chase ranked this week?
4.
I'm at 3. So the Jets are good against slot receivers. So I have Tyler Boyd. To me, Tyler Boyd is unplayable this week. I have Tyler Boyd at 40.
Yeah, I think I have him down there as well. I got to look. I'm at 48. I'm lower.
Yeah, I just think that you could play. I mean, it's against the Jets. The defense is weak, even though they're good against slot receivers. There will be points. You could play him. I mean, I'd rather play him than like Allen Robinson. But, if I have him at 40 against the Jets, like if it were a bad matchup, I could easily have Tyler Boyd in the 50s.
Uzama's taking some of that work, especially.
And actually, I talked about that in one of my DLF articles that I can put a link to. I talked about that, and I was like, you're just not going to support that many options. You're just not. You're not going to support Chase, Higgins at his volume, and Boyd with – there's the link to the article in the chat. You're just not going to support all of those options.
No.
You're going to support Chase consistently. Higgins is going to have volume, but it's going to be a little bit inconsistent. And then, everyone else is just kind of going to be a mixed bag at best. And I'm also going to put a link to my Patreon at the bottom of the chat, so it's there for you.
Shout out to that person at Fantasy Pros that had Chase at wide receiver 4 preseason.
Yeah, I know.
Shout out to them.
They knew something we didn't. All right, a couple more, relatively rapid fire. So Waddle versus Buffalo, Cobb versus Arizona, or Cooks versus Rams?
Give me Cooks.
Yeah, I will also take Cooks. Okay. Need a wide receiver and a flex. Kirk, Waddle, Cobb, McKissick. Doesn't matter who else you're starting, I don't think. So between 2 of these?
It's 2? Oh, I'd go Kirk and Waddle. Or no, Kirk and Cobb.
I want Kirk and Waddle. Yeah, Kirk and Waddle for me. DeAndre Hopkins, Sanders, Pittman Jr., or Lockett, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. Obviously, Hopkins is in, so between Sanders, Pittman, and Lockett.
Give me – this is a tough one.
It's actually not that tough for me.
It's not that give me – where did I have Pittman? Give me man. I have him at 26.
I have Pittman at 20.
He's so
it's Pittman easily for me. I have Sanders at 29, and I have Lockett at 31. So I'll take Pittman. I think this is going to be the Diggs. This is Diggs week. So this one is easy. Hilton or AJ Green at flex. I don't care if Hilton plays. He's not playing for me. So AJ Green. If Chubb doesn't go, but Chubb will go. But either way, let's answer his question. Javonte Williams or Pittman?
Pittman.
Unless it's standard. And maybe I go Javonte Williams, but Pittman. From another Pittman question, Judy or Pittman?
Pittman, I have them back to back.
I do not have them back to back. I have Pittman at 20 and Judy at 33. They're not close for me. I'll take Pittman. I do trust Judy. I trust him. I mean, I trust him as someone you can play at wide receiver 33, but I want to give it a second. I want to give it a week, and I think he's going to come in and be usable, but I'm not sure he's going to come in and be the one. This week, I still have Sutton at the 1. If I see that Judy is as effective as Sutton this week and he looks good, then next week I'll go back to my preseason take and rank Judy higher than Sutton. Mm-hmm. Ertz or Uzama? Good question.
That's a good question.
So Ertz tonight. I keep forgetting Ertz is on the Cardinals. Ertz tonight or Uzama later?
I have these guys back to back as well at 11 and 12. I have Zach Ertz at 11 though.
Yeah, I have Ertz at 10 and Uzama at 14. I just trust Ertz more. So go with Ertz. They traded for Ertz.
Yeah.
Uzama, I still think it is legit, but is still a flash in the pan at what he's done. But I think he's a legit part of their offense, and he is hurting Tyler Boyd immensely. Nuke or Allen?
D-Hop.
Yeah. I don't like Allen's matchup against the Patriots at all.
No.
I don't have these guys close. I'm pretty sure I have Hopkins at 8 and Allen at 16. So not
11 and 19. So same spread, different rank.
Same spread, both lower for you. Gibson or Edmonds?
Oof. Gibson barely.
Yeah, for me, if this is full PPR, I'll take Edmonds. Gibson doesn't get any passing game work. If it's half or standard, I'll take.
Such a shame. Such a shame.
It really is a shame because he was a college receiver. All right, 2 of these. I think this is an easy question, but it's another get people away from Randall Cobb question.
Sutton and Mitchell.
Sutton and Mitchell, very easily over Cobb. I feel like we both like Sutton this week, and Mitchell at this point is every week. Rogers or Cousins, we answered this with Cousins.
Yep.
And the last one of the questions from advance, Tunyon or Goddard?
Goddard.
Where do you have Goddard this week?
9.
I've Goddard at 4.
I'm just low on Goddard.
I've Goddard at 4.
I just don't.
I mean, to me, there's a clear top 3. Kelsey 1, Pitts 2, Hawkinson 3.
Yeah.
And after that, I mean, the other options are Fant with Judy coming back. I'm not so sure. Gesicki, Buffalo, matchup is terrible. I don't know. Dalton Schultz with Gallup coming back. There's some uncertainty. So I only have him, I'm listing them in order. And then Hunter Henry comes in at 8. There's uncertainty. Jonnu is going to play. So that takes away some of the ceiling. And then you have guys like Higbee, who's always kind of hit or miss, Ertz. So I kind of have Goddard at 4, but to me, it's really 1, 2, 3 by a mile. And then everyone else is kind of.
It's a very weak 4.
It's a weak 4. Yeah. I feel like for me, Goddard is closer to Schultz at 7 than he is to Hawkinson at 3. Like 4 through 7 are all kind of the same. Goddard, Fant, Gesicki, and Schultz for me this week. That's like a tier. And then Hawkinson is kind of in a tier by himself at 3. And then, there's a big difference between Kelsey and Pitts, a big difference between Pitts and Hawkinson, a big difference between Hawkinson and Goddard. And then there's those 4, and then there's a whole big group of kind of from 8 to like 14 or 15 are also very similar. So tight end kind of stacks up that way. Something to keep in mind. I don't know too much about DFS, but if you're playing DFS, look at the pricing on those guys. Okay, last one. We answered all the in advance questions. We'll take this last one from the chat. The interesting one, actually, I think is a good question. DeAndre Hopkins or Deontay Johnson? How do you have good options if you're picking between these two?
Yeah, you're very good options. Well, if I'm going by the rankings, I'm going Deontay because he's just a target monster.
Can't do it. Not against.
Understandable.
I think Cleveland is a terrible matchup, personally. I don't think it's. I have Deontay at 14. I mean, I'm still starting him at DeAndre Hopkins at 8. I just, if the matchup were good, I would consider it. I've always been a little bit lower, I think, on Deontay Johnson, despite the fact that I like him. But Big Ben, I feel like just any week, and against Cleveland pass rush. I mean, you could just have this could be a Big Ben floor game, and he takes everyone down with him. So that's why I only have Johnson at 14 instead of his consensus, which is like 10 or 11. I think the odds of a touchdown are low.
That's very low.
Lower.
But you're banking on if it's standard Hopkins by a mile. Yeah,
you have much higher odds of a touchdown with Hopkins. I just worry that this is not the week for Big Ben. But I'd be more willing to go with the volume of Johnson than I would be to go with Claypool, over 26.
Yeah.
Maybe look at Pat Freiermuth more involved. Who knows? I do think that's coming, so it's something to watch for.
I mean, what was it the last game? 7 targets, 6 targets?
I mean, it's a rookie tight end. I just think that you're going to see him more involved as the season goes on.
Well, no, they got him more involved the past game against Seattle. They were off the bye.
Right, but he needs to have like a breakout.
Consistent. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he hasn't really had a breakout fantasy game yet.
They used him as Juju went out, so.
Sure, but he hasn't had that like 8 for 80 tight end performance that really puts him firm on the map of people you can trust. But I do think it's
6.
Hey,
at that rate,
it could happen. But anyway, we got to all the questions, awesome. So that was great. Thanks to everyone for tuning in.
Yep.
And just tell the people one last time. I know you always talk about it, but tell the people one last.
If they don't know where to find me by now, they can find me on Twitter at the handle below, RyanPros_FF. You can find my writing at the Dynasty Vipers, and you can find me doing shows occasionally with Spencer and Matt in the Fantasy Newsroom. I'm glad we changed our name from the Weather Show. We talked about that a little bit last time, but yeah, that's what I got.
But yeah, for me, like and subscribe, like this video, subscribe. If you don't like videos, your subscription doesn't stick. So like the video. You can follow me on Twitter at my Twitter handle, which is on your screen. And then, if you want to follow my writing, here's an example of it. But just follow me at dynastyleaguefootball.com. DLF gave me a couple of extra articles to write this week. So there's some extra content from me. You're very welcome. And yeah, my Patreon, I have patreon.com/fantasy advice. So it's easy to remember, but if not, the link is in my Twitter profile. It's the link. So if you click on it, it'll take you right to my Patreon. And yeah, other than that, let's enjoy football tonight. It's a rare, good Thursday night game. And yeah, good luck this week. I'll see you all on Sunday.
Yeah, best of luck.